with Epstein getting tough and saying he was Boris effing Epstein and he should be paid. Now, when you look at something like this, on the one hand, you may say, is this par for the course? Donald Trump has done a fair amount of self-promotion and what some people view as conning and grifting. It's been well documented for many years, and so you might not be surprised that the people around him are doing it. Whether any laws were violated is a matter for the authorities and the investigators. The Trump campaign, according to these reports, was concerned enough to actually do an internal review. This matters, though, in a much larger way because it is an incoming administration. So we are talking about already some early cracks and tensions around this team and the people inside and how they expect to do business and what they can get away with. And in a sign that this matters, even apart from, again, what I showed you, a kind of conservative website covering it, the New York Times covering it, there's also been a rare public warning from Donald Trump's son, Eric, who says that his dad, the president-elect, is drawing a line here while also stating he thinks maybe the reporting is false. But he also gets in this short soundbite that if true, there'll be repercussions.
My father has been incredibly clear. You do not do that under any circumstance. And believe me, there will be repercussions if somebody was. So I've never seen that side of him. I've known him for a very long time. And, I certainly hope the reporting's false. And I can also tell you if it's true, the person will probably no longer be around.
That's how Eric Trump puts it. As for the person, well, the internal review reportedly found that, quote, Epstein's proximity to Mr. Trump should be terminated. Well, there's no public reporting at this point tonight that that's happening. Epstein, by the way, denies these allegations completely. We want to report that. He stood by Trump through many legal controversies, from defending Trump at the New York trial to election clashes to him ultimately getting indicted himself in connection with efforts to overthrow Trump's 2020 loss. He was indicted in Arizona on that score. Now, you may remember, after the 2020 election and after Trump lost, there were all these various efforts to try to overthrow the result or steal the election. As you may get to a certain point where you say, why are we still talking about this? But just as the wheels of justice move in strange ways sometimes, Donald Trump is now president-elect. So that federal case on those issues is over. That's just the way our system works. But many of these state cases against other people continue. And so the elector fraud was a big deal because while there are times in past contested races where people set up potential or hypothetical alternate electors over time, here, as the weeks went on, and we've reported this for you, it was very clear Trump had lost. There was no legitimate contesting going on. The Supreme Court wasn't hearing a case. And yet they pressed on with fraudulent documents and claims in certain states all the way up through January 6th. So this was something that Epstein was tied to. And before he was indicted about this, we were following these leads and also interviewing people and also trying to fairly hear their side of the story and whether they denied it or what they said. So back then, Epstein defended himself and basically argued that he and other lawyers were doing these things according to law.
That was part of the process to make sure there were alternate electors for when, as we hoped, the challenges to the seated electors would be heard and would be successful per the 12th Amendment of the Constitution and the Electoral Count Act. Everything that was done illegally by the Trump legal team, according to the rules and under the leadership of Rudy Giuliani.
You heard him state it there. If you want to be as open-minded as possible, he might have meant to have said legally. In the sound, it almost sounds like he said it illegally. People can use their own ears and decide that. And he references Giuliani as a kind of name check. Of course, Rudy Giuliani has had a slew of legal problems, both on overthrowing the election and civil defamation, which he was found guilty and liable for. So there are a lot of different issues swirling around that look worse for some of these individuals now as opposed to then. And for people who say, well, does Donald Trump's victory change everything? Well, it changes a heck of a lot for him and the country, but legally, these state cases will continue. Boris Epstein is presumed legally innocent in that case like any other for a criminal defendant, but he has that issue going, and now the scrutiny on whether he was, as alleged, trying to profit off this transition period. Donald Trump has his own view of all this, which is he doesn't like that the New York Times story he thinks is bad press. Quote, I don't believe I've had a legitimately good story in the New York Times for years, he's saying about this. The scandal also renews attention on something that has been warned about, which is how Donald Trump past, present, and transition, which is going into the future, has empowered a heck of a lot of people who have had a lot of ethics problems. And remember, ethics is not a left, right, blue, red issue. If you are looking for competent government, you don't want people who are compromised, subject to blackmail, or only personally profiteering. And if you happen to be a Republican or a MAGA supporter who's hoping that this next administration will do the things Trump was campaigning on, right, deal with complex issues like immigration from multiple countries, or deal with the economy and high prices, then you want competent people working on those issues all day, not working to enrich themselves. But this old school grift has been a problem for all of those things. And Donald Trump's first term, which may have been memory hold for certain people, but these kind of scandals are bringing back the memories, had many of these ethics problems.
Out of a job, multiple scandals, taking down another member of the president's cabinet.
Interior Secretary Ryan Zinke will step down, leaving the administration under a cloud of suspicion.
Zinke was the subject of more than a dozen government investigations, ranging from improper spending on private charter flights to a questionable development deal with an oil executive.
Embattled EPA Chief Scott Pruitt has resigned.
This is a man who has faced at least 14 different probes into ethical violations during his time as this EPA chief.
Apologies and reimbursements were not enough to save President Trump's embattled Health and Human Services Secretary, who a short time ago resigned over his high-flying travel ways at taxpayers' expense.
Tom Price, right, a cabinet secretary having to resign in a big corruption scandal.
This is your money, and they will be using your taxpayer dollars on whatever they choose. If there is good oversight and good sort of practices, then maybe it won't be as bad as the last term. But what you're reminded of there is how this was such a pattern from Donald Trump on down. And while he might play by different rules and want to get away with it, all of those different people face those ethics problems. And eventually, even with Republicans in Congress who give Trump a pass on certain things, found that this is bad politics, it's bad governance, and you don't want your taxpayer dollars wasted on all this stuff. They called it the swamp for a reason. As for Donald Trump, there are ethics groups that say he took in many millions of dollars, including from foreign money, which of course is a big source of potential corruption that you care about from a national security and other perspectives during the administration. Much of that was funded through his Washington hotel. So you take that all together, and then you add the fact on top of all these facts that even as Donald Trump's own campaign lawyers, according to the New York Times reporting, were reviewing another of their lawyers, an indicted one, over this kind of grift. Against this backdrop, they are still avoiding FBI background checks or coordinating with the transition teams that are always done through the federal government and taking secret money. Remember the money I just mentioned? Right now, they're taking secret money from wherever. It could be donors that have agenda items or demands, could be foreign money, and they won't say where the money's coming from. It's more than suspicious. It is a problem for all of the things that Donald Trump told the voters he wanted to do, because we are right back to those headlines I told you about from the first term, where a heck of a lot of people were in a heck of a lot of trouble for basically acting like Trump, but not getting away with it. Our friend Sheikho Manduri joins us on the story when we're back in 90 seconds.
Hi, I'm Damian Clark. I'm here to help you understand how to get the most from Medicare. If you're eligible for Medicare, it's a good idea to have Original Medicare. It gives you coverage for doctor office visits and hospital stays. But if you want even more benefits, you can choose a Medicare Advantage plan, like the ones offered at Humana. Our plans combine Original Medicare with extra benefits in a single convenient plan with $0 or low monthly plan premiums. These plans could even include prescription drug coverage with $0 copays on hundreds of prescriptions. Plus, there's a cap on your out-of-pocket costs. Most plans include dental, vision, even hearing coverage. There are $0 copays for in-network preventive services and much more. Get the most from Medicare with a Humana Medicare Advantage plan. Call today to learn more. Remember, annual enrollment for Medicare Advantage plans ends December 7th. Humana, a more human way to healthcare.
Ooh, stuffed up again?
So congested.
You need Sinex Saline from Vicks.
Just Sinex? Breathe. What is... Wow. Sinex? Breathe. Ah.
For more than a decade, Farxiga has been trusted again and again and again. Ask your doctor about Farxiga.
We're joined now by Obama campaign veteran Shay Komanduri, a friend of the beat. Nice to see you.
Nice to see you, Ari.
Nice to be with you in person here at the table, Shay. It's enough Zoom, right? We're done with the Zoom.
we get all zoomed out.
We're all ready to be past the Zoom.
Exactly.
I'll put up some headlines that I referenced in the segment here, leading into you. When you look at the first term, it's a constant. I mean, you have all these top people who went through the time and the trouble of becoming agency chiefs. It wasn't one or two. It was a whole stampede of them. I mean, Ben Carson, $31,000 on taxpayer money for a dining set. I don't even know where you find a dining set at that price. This is the type of stuff that many voters either put to the side or forgot about in the last year. Does it matter? What does it tell you that you have this indicted campaign lawyer under this type of scrutiny where, even though I noted he's denied these allegations, the Times says that the other Trump lawyers want him out already?
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't matter. I would say it should matter. All right. And one of the things to think about is corruption is endemic to Donald Trump. It's endemic to the Trump brand. He likes to talk about how he flouts the rules. Corruption is sort of part of his brand. I mean, it's like the hockey mask on Jason Voorhees. I mean, it's exactly who he is. However, it doesn't seem to translate to his lackeys, to his staffers, because they're not insulated like he is by celebrity. And so that aspect of it really does matter when you go after the people who are around Trump for corruption. They do fall very, very easily. I think the problem for us as Democrats has been, Trump has been so corrupt for so long, and it doesn't seem to have mattered. And a lot of that has to do with the fact that I think we have really failed at communicating the idea that Trump is a rich person who does things for his own benefit as a rich person and for his friends who are also rich people. It's rich man politics embodied in Donald Trump. And we just have never really effectively fought there. And part of it is that we've been so busy saying Donald Trump isn't really rich. He's a fake billionaire. Another part of it is that we've kind of gone after a lot of voters, particularly moderate suburban voters who are much more angry about the racism, the sexism, the vulgarity, the foreign policy of Donald Trump, rather than his economic policies, which also leads naturally to corruption. This would be much more appealing, I think, to working class voters who Democrats have been losing.
All really interesting when you put it that way. Our colleague Rachel Maddow, who's really done a lot of work around the world covering sort of the history of oppressive governments, even outside of the U.S. context. And she had a piece here in the New Yorker, actually, just after the election saying, remember, dictators and demagogues are usually thieves. Right? It may not be the worst thing they do, but it's one of the ways they abuse power. And she writes, watch your wallet. If history's any guide, it might be worth remembering America's most ambitious and accomplished demagogues have also been crooks. When we look at the governing challenge, I mentioned in our reporting, it's not popular in most red districts to be stealing from the taxpayers.
Right.
You said, okay, the Democrats need to figure out how to talk about Trump, but do you see an opening here for oversight and a problem if this is how the footing they're already starting out at, the Trump transition team, if the Senate and other oversight wants to make sure the taxpayer dollars aren't wasted?
Yeah, I think it's a very good issue for Democrats. I mean, they say that Trump campaigns like a populist and governs like a plutocrat. He also campaigns like a truth teller and governs like a thief, someone who very much is stealing from the taxpayers. I mean, if you're looking at the first Trump term, I mean, we had 69 foreign trademarks that went to the Trump organization.
Wow.
That was worth $160 million, according to Citizens for Responsible Ethics in Washington. And, that is something that we just have dropped the ball on. We haven't really talked about or discussed enough. But it's actually very endemic to the Trump brand. And I do believe that once you remove Donald Trump and his celebrity and you start talking about other figures in the Trump orbit, it hits much harder.
Yeah. All important points. We cover more than one issue around here, and I know as someone who's worked on Democratic campaigns that you're eager to continue to explore your party's loss, what happened and how it happened. I know that's something you like to do in public, right?
Oh, yeah, I love the self-flagellation, and I love it.
So some of your colleagues, people you know, are speaking out about this. David Plouffe, like Harris herself, was sort of drafted in late to work on this. He's someone you know because when you were at the Obama campaign, he would have been what, your boss?
Oh, yes.
Your boss's boss, however they do it.
Yes.
He did a new interview with other Obama vets on Pod Save America. And so this is brand new, talking about where they fell short. Take a listen.
In Milwaukee, just to use that as an example, we hit our turnout targets, fell a little bit short in Philly and Detroit. So that's not good. That's part of the equation. You've got to couple that with dominating in the middle, not just winning it a little. We have to dominate the moderate vote.
Your thoughts of what he's saying there, and whatever they did, they spent plenty of time talking to Republicans and campaigning with Liz Cheney. What do you hear when he says, quite candidly, they needed to do more with moderates and they hit the so-called totals with Democrats?
Look, that is very sound thinking for 2024. They looked at something that was very real, which was 20% of Republicans voted for Nikki Haley, and they continued to do so after she dropped out. That was a huge target of voters that they were aiming to go after. We didn't get those voters because at the end of the day, they decided that they would prefer having tax cuts to having an ethical, responsible leader like Vice President Harris.
And maybe they also thought that Harris was an extension of Bidenism that they no longer trusted.
Yeah, sure. But the thing, I'm sure they would prefer their tax cuts coming from Nikki Haley than Donald Trump. But they really wanted those tax cuts. I think that was really the driving issue that motivates a lot of these voters. I think we have largely maxed out on these college-educated voters in this country. And we cannot be the working class party going forward into the future without appealing to working class people with working class economic issues. That's why, going back to my earlier point about rich man politics, I mean, we have a really good opportunity here. You have not only have Donald Trump, you have the world's richest man who is advertising himself as effectively a co-president. I believe Boris Epstein has been, there's been discussion in Axios about conflicts between him and Elon Musk about this. And they're doing everything they can to enrich themselves at the expense of taxpayers. What are they doing for actual working class voters?
Yeah. No, and it all loops together, and that's why someone listening might say, gosh, if that's so true and such a good point, why didn't that land with the voters? The working class point is something where, Che, I'm sure you've seen, I mean, the Democrats, part of the Democratic Party leadership seems to just think it deserves, quote unquote, or has working class support and black and brown support, right, and Latino voters.
Right.
The voters had something else to say about that, right? And so sometimes you get the feeling that parts of the Democratic Party elite, they're walking around like someone who's wearing that leather jacket that 15 years ago they thought they could really pull off. And in their mind, they think they can still pull it off. So they're walking around looking like that. And everyone else is going, I don't know. And so the way that there's an almost elitist taking for granted or thinking the working vote is with the Democrats rather than trying to continually earn it. Is that an issue? Is that a perception issue? Do you disagree and don't think it's an issue at all?
No, I think it's a huge issue. I mean, look, the reality was, I remember like in 1992 on Charlie Rose, Russell Baker, who people might know was the host of Masterpiece Theater in the 90s, was asked by Charlie Rose at a time when Bill Clinton was third in the polls after Ross Perot and George Bush Sr. And he said, what's wrong with Bill Clinton? And Russell Baker said, well, there's nothing wrong with Bill Clinton. Bill Clinton's a perfectly fine candidate. The problem is the Democratic Party. Without the labor movement, the Democratic Party isn't much of a party. Now, Bill Clinton tried to be a new Democrat and be pro-business to make that up. Obama had the Netroots. Joe Biden had the anti-MAGA, anti-Trump movement in 2020 that helped empower him to a victory. So we've tried to cobble together these coalitions without having a foundational labor movement. I mean, imagine if 2009, if we actually did a card check that would have made union organizing easier. By now, Amazon would be unionized. By now, Federal Express would be unionized. By now, we'd have fast food restaurants unionized. It would be a completely different country right now, 15 years later.
You make a lot of interesting and fair points. And for them, having a party without labor is like having a cocktail party without a bar.
Exactly.
It doesn't really hold. It doesn't work. Great seeing you. I wish you and yours a happy Thanksgiving. Geraldo's here. You want me to tell him hi?
Oh, yeah. I love Geraldo, and I wonder if there's anything still left in Al Capone's vault.
In the vault. Who could forget? Cheiko Manduri, our thanks. Margaret Atwood is we're going to hear some of her insights as we think about what's going on with women's rights around the country. That's the Handmaid's Tale story I mentioned. But as it's coming up next, as Cheiko Manduri is excited about, Geraldo. Next.
Sometimes Jonah wrestles with falling asleep, so he takes ZzzQuil, the world's #1 sleep aid brand, and wakes up feeling like himself. Get the rest to be your best with non-habit-forming ZzzQuil. Better days start with ZzzQuil nights.
Do your dry eyes still feel gritty, rough, or tired? With MyBo, eyes can feel MyBo. MyBo is the only prescription dry eye drop that forms a protective layer for the #1 cause of dry eye, too much tear evaporation. For relief, that's MyBo. Remove contact lenses before using MyBo. Wait at least 30 minutes before putting them back in. Eye redness and blurred vision may occur. What does treating dry eye differently feel like? MyBo. For relief that feels MyBo. Ask your eye doctor about prescription MyBo.
This is an important message for everyone on Medicare. Right now is the Medicare annual enrollment period, and today we are talking about Medicare Part C, commonly called Medicare Advantage. If you don't have a Medicare Part C plan, call now. You may be eligible for plans in your zip code with additional benefits or cost savings you may not be receiving now or that may have previously not been available to you. Different Part C plans are available in different parts of the country, so don't wait. Call the number on your screen now. If you're on Medicare, you can call even if you called last year. We will check to see if there is a Part C plan available in your area with additional benefits or cost savings. Call to speak with a licensed insurance agent before the end of the annual enrollment period. You don't get Medicare Part C benefits automatically, so call now for your free 2025 no-obligation Medicare benefits review.
Just call 800-364-1630. 800-364-1630.
This is an important message for everyone on Medicare. Right now is the Medicare annual enrollment period, and today we are talking about Medicare Part C, commonly called Medicare Advantage. If you don't have a Medicare Part C plan, call now. You may be eligible for plans in your zip code with additional benefits or cost savings you may not be receiving now or that may have previously not been available to you. Different Part C plans are available in different parts of the country, so don't wait. Call the number on your screen now. If you're on Medicare, you can call even if you called last year. We will check to see if there is a Part C plan available in your area with additional benefits or cost savings. Call to speak with a licensed insurance agent before the end of the annual enrollment period. You don't get Medicare Part C benefits automatically, so call now for your free 2025 no-obligation Medicare benefits review.
Just call 800-364-1630. 800-364-1630.
Hi, I'm Jay Jackson. For almost 20 years, Abacus Life has been purchasing life insurance policies from seniors. And in just seconds, you can use the free calculator at abacuspays.com to learn what your policy might be worth.
For many of my clients, selling their life insurance to Abacus was right for them and their estate plan.
Don't sell or lapse your policy without going to abacuspays.com first. There are no fees and no obligations. Get the real value from your life insurance when you need it with Abacus.
My hair was thinning all around my hairline.
My dermatologist recommended Nutrafol. It's 100% drug-free and clinically tested.
My hair is longer, thicker.
Nutrafol is life-changing for me.
Get growing at Nutrafol.com.
My favorite babysitter is Annalisa. She's pretty good. She's like my grandma. She says, "Hola, ¿cómo estás?" And then we go skateboarding.
From babysitters to nannies to daycare centers, find all the care you need at care.com.
Should Donald Trump regain the White House, anything goes. Anything goes. And woe is us if we are so self-interested, so selfish, that we would not only hold our nose, but suspend our principles to support him again.
Some of Geraldo Rivera's words before this election day. You spoke out. You are a former friend of Trump, you self-described. You know a lot of the members of this incoming cabinet nominees because of your time at Fox, and a long time and award-winning TV news journalist who I think most of our viewers know. Welcome back, Geraldo.
Hi, Harry. How are you doing? Happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving. We heard your stark warning there. You did something that others have not done. You said, hey, you looked at the way the evidence changed and what Donald Trump has done, and you spoke out against him. We also now know that he won this election. So where do you stand, having raised those alarms, but also, of course, we all follow the rule of law and the election results. How do you think things are looking today?
What a great question. Where do I stand in terms of the president, now that he's the president-elect, with this overwhelming mandate? You know, I thought with some trepidation about the example of Morning Joe and Mr. and Mrs. And going down, kissing the ring, and so forth. And would I do that? I haven't yet. I don't expect to. Although he is the president of all America now, the campaign is over. I am reminded of the scene with Joe Biden and Donald Trump in front of the fire going on in the White House. And, you know, that's the way it used to be. I lament that that's not the way it was last time. Obviously, it was outrageous the way he behaved. It was more than outrageous. It was criminal, I think. But now he's the president, and the question is, what do you do about it? You know, you could spend the next 4 years weeping in the library, but I don't know. I don't know whether I will. That could be, you know, you could have like a question every Friday. Has Geraldo congratulated Donald Trump yet? Has he come to kiss the ring yet, like Mika and Joe?
Yeah, I guess,
so,
look, there are people who, no, and I think there are people who look at it in a number of different ways. Covering this stuff versus whether you see yourself in dialogue with a politician is a distinction there. I mentioned your Fox colleagues. I'm sure that there's a certain association, right, with anyone that you know, and if you know someone and you like them, then okay, great, you think they're getting an opportunity. Although I think it's also fair to say that Donald Trump is so focused on casting that it seems like sometimes he's casting only from those that he knows already from television and not using the tremendous opportunity and resources of the United States government to recruit from everyone in the country. So notwithstanding that, I'm sure you have good things to say about some of them. What about that? Should the whole cabinet be coming off the airwaves?
That's an excellent question, and it does seem to me that he's taking the path of least resistance, and the television has played an inordinate role. But you know, from my point of view, I have several different takes on it. Number one is I remember all those years, I mean, particularly when he won the election, how cool it was that your old buddy is a president of the United States. Now my old buddy is the Secretary of Defense designate. Well, let's say they get confirmed. The Attorney General of the United States, the Transportation Secretary, the head of the Secret Service. When you think about it in those terms, I never thought, coming from Williamsburg, Brooklyn, and West Babylon, Long Island, that I would be, you know, on a first-name basis with the people who run the most amazing country on earth, the most powerful country, so on and so forth. So it is humbling, and it is you know, it distorts your reaction to things. Maybe you know, you fight so it doesn't change your values that you know, the positions that you express are your positions, and you stick by your principles. But it is a heady experience. Make no mistake about it. Now, in terms of
and it's interesting. You use that word distort, and much has been said about the president-elect's fame, his so-called celebrity, and whether he's used that in a way as a crutch to distort things which otherwise wouldn't cut ice. I mean, I mentioned it earlier in the program, the ethics allegations that his aides faced last time, many of whom were driven out of office for it, and what they're facing now. The New York Times and a conservative outlet, as you know, Just the News from Solomon, reporting on allegations of influence peddling. That's not left or right. That's just unethical if proven. And then you go to the immigration issues, which I wanted to get your follow-up on, because, again, you say, well, is it distortive, or you recognize somebody, or you have a link with them? Fine. But what about when they're bad-mouthing so many of our fellow Americans, or people who are legal, documented immigrants, and some people who are undocumented? Take a listen to Geraldo, again, from that interview we did pre-election. This is what you said about some of that.
It is absolutely imperative that people whose names sound like mine understand that this guy says that we are poisoning the blood of the country. He says that it is in our genes that we commit murder. This is a guy who promises mass deportation of our friends and relatives should he regain the White House.
That's how you put it, and you were right about the mass deportation. We now have the headlines from the transition. He wants to declare a national emergency, use the military, and do mass deportations of the undocumented. What do you say to Donald Trump, someone who you knew for so many years, tonight? What do you say to him about what he's planning?
Well, I'm not sure he would take my advice on it, Ari, but let me be unequivocal about it. The part you have not yet gotten to is the fact that the confirmation came about the vast holding areas. So to convince people that they should not appeal their cases and drag out their stay, even if they're here and they have a right to due process 2 years down the line, to get them to leave now expeditiously, they're going to make those vast holding areas so unpleasant that people will be dying to get out to go home. I think that's the thinking. It is an obscenity. And everything I said pre-election, I say now in bold letters. This is horrifying what they have planned. Can you imagine a vast holding area? Just think of the Japanese internment in World War II. This is going to be that in a much vaster scale. And the more people that they crowd into these places, the more horrifying it's going to be. And it will weigh on the conscience of every American. You know, there'll be no distortion about it. There'll be no explaining about it. When you can look through a barbed wire fence and you see people that look just like you, and many of them in the country for a long time, people with mixed families where one is a citizen and the husband and then the other, the wife is not. This is going to be a horror. And it's really going to, I think, tarnish the reputation of the nation, and it should affect the conscience of everybody who sees it. Is there a problem with undocumented immigration? Obviously. But there must be a more humane solution than the one proposed. And what was Tom Homan doing down on the border anyway today? He's not in office yet. He doesn't have a job yet. He's not working for any administration now.
Yeah. I'll tell you what, Earl, number one, I think it's very interesting to get your take on all this, and I think people are listening to you, so that's striking, and we'll deal with it all together as a country. That's what we got to do. Before I lose you, it's not just politics here. As you know from your long time working in the press, one of the most striking things is you get your press badge or you go out to work and you talk to people, all kinds of people. And so because I get time with you here, because you're not signed to another cable network like Fox right now, I wanted to just go back to your career. One of the most intense, striking, for some controversial legal interviews you did with none other than Charles Manson. Let's roll the tape.
Others have killed more, and they've done it more recently. But Charles Manson is a name that has taken its place in American infamy.
Do you feel remorse? I don't know what that is. You know what I think? That you are an evil person. Right, I'm evil. I'm terrible. You are terrible. Oh, yeah, I'm awful. Look me straight away in the eye. Do I look like I'm guilty about anything? You look more guilty than anyone I ever looked in the eye in my life. Really?
You remember that interview? What can you tell us about that? What did you learn? And again, in the pioneering days of that earlier kind of rougher tumble TV, the interviews you did, the reporting you did, tell us about it.
Well, Manson really did reek of infamy. I really thought he was a disgusting person. And the worst thing about Manson and his popularity was the fact that he was the biggest selling T-shirt in the country at that time. It was a bizarre perversion in pop culture where this mass murderer was a celebrity as well as a disgusting criminal. It really Manson spooked me more than most. And I did several specials on crime specials dealing with mass murderers, various ones, the prostitution murders in Long Island and so forth. It's a weird part of life, but I've always been able, Ari, and I think you must also have that release valve where you can be professionally engaged in something in a circumstance that is horrible or very unpleasant or repulsive or whatever it is, and you still have a kind of a distance. I think my enduring success, and by the way, I am a correspondent at large for News Nation, I hasten to add, but my enduring success, or at least my enduring career, has been the ability to relate to a story, to get involved in a story, to be affected by the story, to want to change the reality that I'm reporting about. But ultimately, you go home, you're with your family, and you have another life. You can separate. You have to, otherwise, it's like a psychiatrist or a doctor, a cancer doctor. If you don't separate yourself from the reality that is your profession, you have no other life, and you could go nuts. My brain sometimes feels like it's going to blow up in my head. And I, one of the things about having a 54-year career, I have a drawer full of letters from fans or people, supplicants or people in dire need, or people who need, me to be engaged or involved. And I do one or two a day, and you get exhausted emotionally.
Sure.
And yet my point is, I'm not crying the blues. I had a great career. I have a wonderful relationship. But just give you one quick example. The Willowbrook story about the developmentally disabled. When I see someone who is obviously developmentally disabled on the street, I swear to God this is true. Like a kid with Down syndrome or cerebral palsy or something like that, and their parents are walking down the sidewalk. I feel a relationship with every single one of them. I feel a relationship, and they look at me, and they know it. They get that same vibe, and I think that's really the secret of why I'm still around.
No, it's striking. And you say 54 years, people, and there's different ways to do it. Doctors, nurses, lawyers in certain situations, you have a clinical distance, but you're also up close to reality, right? You're not sitting back and having life pass you by. It's striking. So, look, Geraldo, we appreciate you coming on. This was interesting. I'd love to have you back. Thank you, sir. The Handmaid's Tale is something coming up, so stay with us here on The Beat.
Hey, grab more delectables. That lickable cat treat.
Delickable delectables.
Yes. Just hurry.
Must be delicious.
Delectables, lickable treat. Deliciously delickable delectables.
Tangazo hili linahusu njaa. Tarajia kuona watoto wakiwa na njaa katika maeneo haya. Mambo yalikuwa bora kwa miaka mingi. Tuliweza kupigana na njaa na watoto wachache walikufa. Lakini sasa mambo yamebadilika na kwa mabaya zaidi. Hii ni kwa sababu wakati huu ukame umeangamiza zaidi. Через війни та конфлікти ми мусимо залишати наші домівки і всі наші речі. Ми навіть не маємо їжі. Тому нам потрібна ваша допомога.
Millions of children are fighting to survive due to inequality, conflict, poverty, and the climate crisis. Save the Children is working alongside communities to provide a better life for children. And there's a way you can help. Please call or go online to give just $10 a month, only 33 cents a day. We urgently need 1,000 new monthly donors in the next 30 days to help the children we support around the world. You can help provide food, medicine, care, and protection. plus so much more that a child needs by calling right now and giving just $10 a month.
Ви можете допомогти голодуючим родинам вижити.
All we need are 1,000 monthly donors in the next 30 days. Please call or go online now with your monthly gift of just $10. Thanks to generous government grants, every dollar you give can have up to 10 times the impact. And when you call with your credit card, we will send you this Save the Children tote bag as a thank you for your support.
Toto kote duniani potrzebuють вашої допомоги.
Your small monthly donation of just $10 could be the reason a child in crisis survives. Please call or go online to givetosave.org to help save lives.
Sometimes Jonah wrestles with falling asleep, so he takes ZzzQuil, the world's #1 sleep aid brand, and wakes up feeling like himself. Get the rest to be your best with non-habit-forming ZzzQuil. Better days start with ZzzQuil nights.
I've been worn by celebrities, athletes, and world leaders. But I've always felt most comfortable up here with the folks that made me who I am. I'm right at home, out here on the land. And I'm in my lane, on the shoulder of the interstate. Because this is where I come from. I've been showing up here for nearly 200 years, and I can't wait to see what's next.
Hats off to the future.
Nothing runs like a deer.
Are you tired of that old worn-out bath or shower? Now you can have a new one installed in just one day with a new limited-time offer from Jacuzzi Bath Remodel. We're waiving all installation costs with no interest and no payments for up to 1 year. Jacuzzi has been making water feel great for over 70 years. And now you can get a gorgeous custom bath remodel at a price you can afford with no stress and no mess.
I've been trying to get him to remodel that bath for years. I called and they did in just one day.
And at a price we could afford.
Every time I stepped over my old tub, I worried I might fall. I don't have those fears anymore.
With Jacuzzi, you can get a safer, easy entry shower to keep you feeling comfortable and independent at home. Your new Jacuzzi bath or shower is waiting. Now is the best time to call.
We're waiving all installation costs with no interest and no payments for up to 1 year. There are only weeks remaining during our limited time offer. Go to jacuzzibathremodel.com or call 800-991-9523.
This is my coffee shop. We just moved into a bigger space, brought on another employee, and ordered new branded gear for the team. It was so easy. I just chose my products, added our logo, and placed my order. Bring your own team together with custom gear. Get started today at customink.com.
All right, team, saddle up. I want Q1 full index reports at my desk by noon.
Are you getting any of this?
Yep, Otter's got the meeting notes. I'll ask it for action items in the channel. And Maria already asked for a budget reminder. Smart.
Got it?
Got it, boss. Otter, you got this.
Most voters who went to the polls this month backed reproductive rights and abortion access, even in conservative places like Florida. A reminder that people may make their presidential choice on some issues, but also could oppose the same candidate on other issues. Donald Trump's judges ended Roe v. Wade and paved the way for health care challenges, which really once sounded perhaps to many people like dystopian nightmares. Politicians making rules that deny women their health care and even cause preventable deaths. Reports of this third Texas woman who has now died because doctors were banned from treating her during a miscarriage. That's because of the state's harsh abortion ban. We're living in a time where male politicians declare that women's roles are childbearing. Then they attack, quote, childless women, unquote, as somehow failing their purpose. And male judges and politicians force women with rules that mandate more childbearing, even if it puts them in danger, as I just mentioned. It is the kind of dystopian, patriarchal oppression imagined in The Handmaid's Tale, that pioneering book and then show, as you see here, which was authored by Margaret Atwood. So tonight we're taking a few moments to look back at those warnings from politics to art, courtesy of the author herself, Margaret Atwood. Big question, perhaps too simple. Why do states go back to that playbook?
Why do states go back to that playbook?
I'm in television, so, I ask simple questions.
Yeah. Well, they all have their reasons, and the reasons tend to vary according to circumstances. Sometimes they they want more children, so they take them away from their parents. Sometimes they want fewer children, so they prohibit more than one child, for instance. Sometimes they want children, but not those children. So they're discriminating in that respect. But what it comes down to is that they assert the right to control reproduction, and they assert their right over people's bodies. So
that goes to the very next thing I wanted to ask you about, which is you referred to different systems which may or may not be strictly animated by sexism or misogyny, but then you have, of course, modern examples that chiefly are. We were trying to think of how to present this question to you, and we came up with...
I'll help you.
Oh, go ahead. You got an idea?
Yeah. All totalitarianisms, no matter what they say their aims are, no matter what's on the flag, they all have in common the rollback of women's rights.
Mm-hmm. So with that in mind, I want to present to you, this is my colleague Rachel Maddow, who's done a lot of reporting on this, looking at a particular state where it's not just limiting access to abortion, which is on one level an issue of constitutional rights and medicine, but explicitly by state order mandating that women have a certain examination, an issue you're quite familiar with in your writing and your analysis. Here's how she describes it. Take a look.
Every woman seeking a legal abortion in Missouri is being told by the state that she must have a mandatory, medically unnecessary vaginal examination by order of the state of Missouri. They've told the doctors at that one remaining clinic that they must do a second medically unnecessary invasive pelvic exam on every woman.
Where does that fit into this?
Asserting their right to do that, asserting their right over somebody's body. So I would say to them, okay, the state asserts its right in times of war to draft people into the Army. But if they draft them into the Army, they pay for their clothing, their food, their lodging, their medical, and they pay them a salary. So forced childbirth, forcing women to have children, it's much the same. They're being drafted into having children. So the state should therefore pay for their prenatal, their food, their lodging, their clothing, their medical, and the sustenance of the child, should it not. But they're not doing that. They don't actually care in that case. They don't care about babies. It's just a way of punishing women for being women.
And yet, at the same time, the very people who lead these parties, often, although not exclusively male, will say the opposite, which, as you and others have written, is also a feature of this problem in politics. I will only do this once in our interview, but I will play the following clip for your analysis.
Nobody respects women more than I do, will tell you. I respect women. I love women. I cherish women. Women, we love you. We love you. Women, I love women. They're the greatest. I like them much more than I like the men.
Well, it's sort of like saying I love macaroni and cheese, kind of on the same level. Yeah, so if you love them that much, pay for it.
We thought Margaret Atwood's points were especially prescient, so we wanted to air there just some of what she told us. That was back in our 2019 interview. Now, what about artificial intelligence in the new administration? It's a big issue. We have an update on that when we return.
Hey, grab more delectables. You know, that lickable cat treat.
Delickable delectables.
Yes. Just hurry.
Must be delicious.
Delectables, lickable treat. Deliciously delickable delectables.
What if kids in America didn't have to go to bed hungry tonight? What if our moms, dads, and grandparents could put healthy food on the table every day to help us grow strong? What if all of our friends and neighbors had fresh food too, and there was no hunger at all in America? And what if there was a way today for you to help? Call now or go online to helpfeedingamerica.org and give $19 a month just 63 cents a day. So many of us don't have enough food to eat. But your monthly gift means families across the country and in your community can fill plates with food. Kids can get healthy meals year-round, even when school is out. And our neighbors can have fresh food. Food that moms, dads, entire families need to thrive. But right now, more people are facing hunger. Feeding America works from coast to coast with partner food banks, food pantries, and meal programs. It takes all of us to make that happen. Will you help too? Please call the number on your screen or go online to helpfeedingamerica.org and give just $19 a month. And we'll send you this free canvas grocery bag. It's our way of saying thank you for helping to end hunger for our neighbors. Because no kid, no mom or dad, nobody should go hungry in America. Nobody. So what if today was the day you could help nourish futures for our friends, our families, for all of us? Ending hunger is possible. What if we end it together? Call or give online.
Effects were diarrhea, nausea, and headache.
No matter where life takes you, Biktarvy can go with you. Talk to your healthcare provider today.
Did you know serums are concentrated with powerful ingredients to visibly improve your skin? Try Olay Super Serum for 5 powerful ingredients in one. It hydrates, improves texture and evenness, while also firming and smoothing. Try Olay Super Serum.
For gentle, dependable constipation relief, try Senecot. It works differently than other laxatives because it's made from the senna plant, a natural vegetable laxative ingredient. Gentle, dependable Senecot. Also available in delicious gummies.
Tech companies are making rapid advancements in artificial intelligence, and there isn't a lot of oversight on that. In fact, neither political party has even done a lot of leadership about what to do with these potentially powerful, dangerous tools. Now there are reports the incoming Trump administration wants to have a little more hand on the wheel, a kind of an AI czar to deal with different strands of federal policy. That could be an effective thing. There isn't really that kind of role right now. Axios reports the goal, though, wouldn't necessarily be safety, but just to be at the forefront of this tech. Trump is not expected to tap people like Elon Musk, who, separate from his politics, was an early driver in some of the big groups that grew into OpenAI and ChatGPT, which are now some of the largest sort of consumer-facing AI projects. Musk also owns a separate AI company because he had a falling out with that group. And his influence over Donald Trump is now quite strong. Anyone who's studied Trump over the years knows that these advisors and powerful people can come and go. But right now, Musk has a lot to say. There are cracks, though, in the budding alliance, including Donald Trump, who loved having such a rich, famous friend around, now saying that he might have even gotten a little tired of Elon Musk's many suggestions. The comics are also having their say.
Nothing's making me feel better than the fact that Donald Trump finally got his own Donald Trump. You can't get rid of this guy. Also, I can't believe I'm saying it. He needs to cool it on social media.
We'll be right back.
Can Nariva support your brain health?
Mary, Janet, hey.
Eddie, no, Fraser. Frank. Frank? Fred, how are you? Fred.
Support up to 7 brain health indicators, including memory. When you need to remember Nariva.
Sometimes Jonah wrestles with falling asleep, so he takes ZQuil, the world's #1 sleep aid brand, and wakes up feeling like himself. Get the rest to be your best with non-habit-forming ZQuil. Better days start with ZQuil nights.
The promise of this nation should extend to all. From New York to New Mexico. From Alaska to Alabama. But right now, people like you are losing their freedoms. Some in power are suppressing voting rights, banning our kids' books from libraries, and attacking our right to make private healthcare decisions. We must act now to defend these freedoms and protect our democracy. And we can't do it without you. We're the American Civil Liberties Union, and we're asking you to join us in protecting our democracy. At the national level and in communities like yours. Call or go online to myaclu.org to become a Guardian of Liberty today. Your gift of just $19 a month, only 63 cents a day, will help ensure that, together, we can continue to fight for the freedoms of all Americans, no matter your zip code. If you also believe in the right to vote, the right to free speech, the right to learn, the right to bodily autonomy, please join us now.
These are your fundamental rights that people are playing with. And so you need to get involved, because if you don't, then someone else is going to decide whether or not you get to choose what happens to your own body.
So please call or go to myaclu.org and become an ACLU Guardian of Liberty for just $19 a month. When you use your credit card, you'll receive this special We the People t-shirt and more to show you're part of a movement to protect the rights of all people.
We can't make systemic change in the way that we want to, doing it by ourselves. We have to work together.
Because we the people means all of us, from sea to shining sea. So please, call or go online to myaclu.org to become a Guardian of Liberty today.
Stay informed on the biggest issues of the day. MSNBC has you covered wherever you are. Watch, read, and listen. For the in-depth coverage and analysis you need, stay with MSNBC.
Why has America accepted the wait for payday when life doesn't wait for you to get paid? Introducing MyPay from Chime, a revolutionary new way of getting your pay when you want. Get up to $500 of your pay before payday. No interest, no credit check, no mandatory fees. When any day is payday, it's a good day. Get paid when you say with MyPay. Get started at Chime.com.
Your loved ones are getting older, and they need your support. Care.com is here to help. It's an easy way to find background-checked senior caregivers in your area and some peace of mind. See why millions of families have trusted Care. Go to Care.com now.
How'd you do that? Looks complicated.
It's easy. Pick more or less on at least 2 players, enter your lineup, and lock in for the game.
Download the PrizePicks app today. Enter $5 and get $50 instantly with Code TV.
I could have told her that. I could have told her that. Thanks for spending time with us on The Beat. Now it's time for The Readout with Joy Reid.
Tonight on The Readout.
In a month, I was shooting heroin, and that was my kind of drug of choice. I started doing heroin. I went to the top of my class. It worked for me, and if it still worked, I'd still be doing it, but it didn't work. It starts, it works really great in the beginning, but then it begins exacting a cause.
Ah, yes. Welcome to your brand new 2025 health system, America. Led by anti-vaxxer and recovering heroin addict RFK Jr. Brainworm optional. Plus a couple of doctors from TV, including Dr. Oz, all with very limited experience in, public health. Also tonight, the cardinal sin, making money off of Trump's name and not even cutting him in on the profits. Someone is in very, very big trouble in Trump world tonight. Plus, the Readout Guide to Navigating Autocracy. Tonight, how business owners should prepare for the coming mass deportation raids, as Trump's borders are, vows to lock up anyone who stands in his way. But we begin tonight with a word you